But right now, the Mach E, it's got a ban on deliveries. You get a Mach E, your Mach E shows up at your dealership, they cannot deliver it. And here's why. The batteries themselves, on the inside of those batteries, whether you have, no matter what battery you have, the extended range or the standard range battery on the Mach E, the terminals inside the battery, there's a positive and a negative terminal. And if one of those terminals corrodes or loses its coating, the vehicle won't start. And if you're really unlucky and it loses both of those coatings, well, the vehicle won't shut off. That one instance will get the battery to be a little hotter. Now, Ford has a system that ensures that when one terminal is corroded, it won't allow you to start the vehicle. It could start the vehicle, but the system itself does not allow for the vehicle to start because it knows that battery is going to run hotter than it should. Long term, I believe, this has not been, admitted by any manufacturer, but I strongly believe that running your battery hot once, you're not going to get your fire then. What's going to happen is that those terminals, over time, not being properly coated, will have the batteries constantly run hotter, and eventually, with wear and tear, that's when you encounter fires. Now, Ford has not had any issues that I know of with fires on any of their electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles, so on any of their electrified vehicles. This has been a major issue for other manufacturers, but we don't hear so often about other manufacturers' electric or hybrid vehicles just refusing to start, that they stay, dead in the yard. And I wonder if that's because, other than maybe Audi, which so far I haven't heard any bad news in regards to fires. I don't think there have been any EV fires at Audi. And I think both companies, well, I know Ford has the system to ensure that it doesn't start up, but I wonder if manufacturers who have had fires, it's just because either the parameter for allowing the battery to get hot, those parameters are set much higher, or maybe there's not an automatic shutdown or a system that allows the vehicle to just not start altogether. So I know a lot of people will be, worked up about this. You'll have full-time professional journalists saying that the Mach E is now, we had one for our province, the big name in our area, basically saying that the Mach E is the worst vehicle ever, that this is the biggest deal ever, which I think is ridiculous. And there's no justification to get that worked up about it. And I doubt the individual's actually that worked up about it. I think it's about getting attention, but you're just not, comparing apples to apples. Right now, Mach E's can't be delivered because Ford wants to correct them. And if your vehicle does, happen to not start in your yard because the coating on on those terminals get ruined, well, guess what? They're going to, keep your vehicle at the dealership. And they're going to want a solution. So Ford is playing it essentially very safe. So that's one way to do business. Another way to do business is to let people keep driving their vehicles. They heat up, the batteries get hotter, and I think, no one's admitting it, but I highly suspect that everyone has a problem with the coatings on the terminals, because before this happened, Ford was already working, and Ford's not the only one. Every manufacturer that I know of, the big names around here, not little Chinese EV manufacturers, but they're working on different ways to coat those terminals. And Ford was already working on a different system, different materials to coat those terminals, because it's about the charge cycle. They wanted to get more charge cycles out of the battery, and batteries essentially, part of the reason their charge cycles aren't as long as we'd like them to be. So a charge cycle is when you charge a battery, run it to empty, and recharge it again. So lithium-ion batteries, I strongly believe charge cycles are definitely affected by the coating on the terminals, and it's pretty obvious because Ford said we're working on changing how these terminals are coated because we want longer charge cycles. So I'm thinking, bringing this back all the way to the Maverick, thinking that those batteries were delayed because it's about getting quality batteries. Ford also delayed the Escape by actually basically a whole year. The Escape Hybrid was delayed. One, I think that's about getting quality batteries and enough quality batteries. And two, well, I think that it's, you know, it's an issue that maybe even with the Mach E, when there's a first little delay at first, maybe that, and they said it was about in regards to programming and fixed with programming. Well, maybe that's because they're implementing this system. So that's all speculation. What's not speculation, they are working on getting these batteries to have longer charge cycles by changing how the process or the materials behind coating those terminals. Mach E's, they're going to be undeliverable until they can either change the programming to help resolve the problem or possibly even change the terminals. So we'll see, and I'll keep you updated on that. I'll also keep you updated on, of course, Bronco news and the 2.7 liter, giving a lot of perspective on that, talking about at the same time, you know, Jeep transmissions and Jeep rust issues, because that's going to be a big one. So if you're a Bronco fan, you're definitely going to want to catch that content. So do like and subscribe. I've said everything I've got to say for the moment. I'll leave the rest for the next live with Marie. But I'm thinking that for the Maverick, if you have an all-wheel drive hybrid, why put the battery on the outside? That doesn't make sense to me. Why show the FX4 sticker? I think what we're seeing, yes, Ford Authority, I completely agree with them that we're looking at probably, you know, they said a high performance. I'd say a higher cost model. So I'm thinking Tremor or Raptor. I'm thinking more power, and, you know, a Raptor I would think would need a 2.3 liter plug-in and a plug-in 2.5 liter. Probably call it a Tremor. And you get, you know, you'll get people to switch over and wait longer for these, you know, pretty awesome models. The F-150 Tremor, I'd say is a 10 on 10 for a truck for its price range. And the Raptor, I will need to test it to say it's a 10 out of 10, but I do definitely like its specs and the suspension, the whole setup. So if you like this type of content, if you like getting in depth on the current news, you like getting a little intel from the inside, you're at the right place. I'm Johnny for Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. Please like and subscribe, and until next time, I do hope you get more cars and more power that your Ford or whatever model you've ordered, because delays are everywhere. I hope you get that sooner. I do wish you more, of course, that you get to put the pedal to the metal. Take care and have a great weekend. So Mary, I know that you may be wondering why I spent kitchen countertop money on beaten up MR2. Well, it's childhood memories. But honey, to make it up, I bought you some.
Childhood memories are almost 40 years old crisis.
Yeah, but I do have a surprise for you. Try to pardon me. So here's a pro tip. It doesn't always work, but when you've done something wrong.
The same episode.
Yeah, it's not worth the same, but when you've done something wrong, you can definitely try your best to make up for it. And it depends how bad you've been. But let's go see. Why don't you open up what I got you? It's in the back.
Oh, you got me. More flowers? More cars and more flowers.
Yeah, it's the new channel.
Cool. Oh, I see hibiscus here. Wow.
Nice.
Is it for me or is it for you? That one's your kind of flower.
That one's my kind of flower, maybe just a wee bit.
But I see some of you other kinds. Oh, wow.
And here, why don't you do the little trick to open up the top here in the back? There's two little clamps on the corners.
I never knew that. Okay. I was always doing the groceries, and it's now that you tell me that there's a trick. I was always like that with the bags.
I thought you watch my Bronco videos.
Not that part. I'm sorry. How can I open it? Okay, like that and like that. Oh.
And there's a little stick, like on an engine bay. There's a little stick here.
Oh, this. Okay.
Yeah. There you go, babe.
Oh.
And way more flowers.
Wow.
So yes, there's more cars, but there's also more flowers.
That's the kind of flower that I told you to buy.
Yeah, they're
nice.
They're out of the singular ones, so I bought you the whole pot.
Cool, thank you.
So am I almost forgiven for buying that old MR2?
Almost.
Almost? Almost.
Depends on the time that you will need to do on the car, and I will listen to everything you need to do, but for now that's fine.
And shortly after this happened. So we've recruited Marie to play Fetch the Socket. My idea for the tape, but putting it on my middle finger this was a job that annoyed me quite a bit, but if you do drop a socket inside when you're changing your spark plugs, turns out that putting it on your middle finger, that's the only finger that would fit down deep enough into that hole, got the socket out. So,
stop showing your middle finger like that to people.
Duct tape.